Rubio continues to ratchet up anti-Azerbaijani rhetoric while defending anti-Semitism in Armenia. An analyst for Caliber.az writes, the author questions if US Senator Marco Rubio is an anti-Semite. He backs countries and terrorist organizations that commit heinous acts of vandalism. As we know, Rubio wrote on X, former Twitter, that American taxpayers should not pay for the military support of Azerbaijan. He noted that the Senate passed the Act on the Protection of Armenia, which stops such assistance. I think it is important to highlight the pro-Armenian bias in his statement. US taxpayer dollars should not go to Azerbaijan, a country that has brought instability to the region. My Senate colleagues agree, and together we have passed the Armenia Protection Act. I urge my colleagues in the House of Representatives to do the same. Rubio's statement says, but I would like to remind you that since the beginning of the Armenian-Azerbaijani conflict, the United States has done nothing to condemn the occupying country. The Caliber.az reports, no sanctions have been imposed against Armenia. On the contrary, after the occupation of Shusha and several districts of our country, after the genocide of the peaceful Azerbaijani population in Khojaly, the US adopted the 907th Amendment. In 2001, they decided to freeze it, but the volume of American military aid was so minuscule that nobody in Baku discussed it. At the same time, I should add that the USA was the only country that annually and officially allocated financial aid to Armenians illegally residing in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. Despite all this, Azerbaijan restored its territorial integrity and its sovereignty, and now we see that the pressure is put on Azerbaijan, the victim of occupation. No less disgusting is seeing Rubio advocate for increased aid to a state in which acts of Judeophobia and anti-Semitism have become common practice. On November 15, the only synagogue in Yerevan was set on fire, and the Asala, junior subdivision of terrorist group named Armenian Secret Army for the Liberation of Armenia, claimed responsibility for the attack. As most of the evidence points, this is not the first case of anti-Semitism in Armenia, as the country has previously witnessed cases of blatant disregard for cultural and religious values, especially those related to the Jewish heritage. In this regard, it makes sense to recall that there have never been cases of anti-Semitism in Azerbaijan. Synagogues are functioning in our country. People pray in them calmly and peacefully. And what do we see Senator Marco Rubio proposing? He says that American taxpayers should not pay for the US military support to Azerbaijan, and advocates supporting Armenia. That is, he is calling for help to Armenia, where anti-Semitism and vandalism have become frequent, where a synagogue is being desecrated, and the terrorist organization Asala is claiming responsibility. Rubio advocates that the US shouldn't provide military aid to Azerbaijan, where Jews have historically always felt protected and happy. Who's the anti-Semite after all this? Is Senator Marco Rubio? This is a question that representatives of US Jewish organizations and his Jewish voters should ask him.